Gobble Gobble. I'm taking a moment to create some QR codes that will display some small models and text related to Thanksgiving. This is going to be a simple, lightweight project, so it's not necessarily going to be the most historically and culturally accurate, but we'll do what we can with the time that we have. This is a nice, simple project that doesn't really require any coding, other than being able to acquire some 3D models. It's something that you should be able to do fairly easily. And this does not have to be a Thanksgiving thing. It's just a fun, simple little thing that you can do for customers, clients, students, colleagues, whatever the case might be. So in this case, I'm using the Web AR Studio platform. All you need to do is do a quick search for AR Studio Web, and you should be able to find the link for it. And you should be able to start a new account for free. So I've got a few little projects that I started. I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. I'm going to add a project. I will go ahead and select QR code recognition, and I will just select browser. I will then push create AR, and I will do an empty project. Now I've got a QR code, and now up at the top, I should be able to select different things that I would like to include in the project. In this case, I'm going with a 3D model, and I will upload a new model. Before I upload the model, let's take a moment to discuss that. In this case, I have some low poly crops lined up in Blender that I'm going to go ahead and use. If you know how to work with 3D models, that's a great way to go. If not, you should be able to acquire different models online in different types of asset stores. You do need the models to be a particular format. So in this case, I'm going to export as GLTFs or GLBs. And I will go ahead and export the items. In my case, I can just go ahead and select that I want to limit it to selected objects, and I can go ahead and do that. Now, once I've done that, I should be able to find that particular object that I created and drag it right into this window. And I'll go ahead and tell it that I want to use this model. Now, once that's done, it's still showing in 2D, so I will toggle the 3D switch, and I can go ahead and I'm going to select the crops that I just brought in, and I'm going to adjust the rotation, and I will adjust the scale as well, just so that they're a little bit bigger in relation to the QR code. There's a text option, but for my part, instead of using the text that's included, I actually created the text in Blender. Again, not necessarily the most accurate explanation, but in this case, I'm just saying with the help and knowledge of the Wampanoag Indians, the Pilgrims were able to grow crops. So the way I did this was I simply added text. I tabbed into edit mode. I modified the text to what I wanted to say. I then went to the data properties tab for the text, and I extruded it a little bit to give it a 3D effect. And I went ahead and I also, in my case, center aligned it. Once that was done, tab back into object mode, and I tell the object that I want to convert it to a mesh. Once it's a mesh, I went to materials, created a new slot for material. I created a new material and assigned that material to this, giving it the look that I wanted. I then went ahead and exported it just as I had done for these crops. So let's go ahead and add another 3D model. We'll upload my crops X for explanation GLB, and I'm using this model as well. Once that's included, I can adjust the scale for this as well and place it as I see fit. And when that's done, I can go ahead and I can publish this. So now what I can do is I can go ahead and I can view this. It will bring up this QR code that if I scan should work on my phone. What I'm going to do first is I will right click and I will open this image in a new tab. I will use a snipping tool and I will save this as crops QR. Now the next step would be to test this. So let's take a look at that in a few moments. Okay, so I took all the QR codes and I have them on a sheet like so with some little graphics, just some old school Microsoft clip art graphics, and I'm going to cut those out and just put them down on a few tables and see what we get. Okay, so I've taken some of the QR codes and I've cut them up and put them around on some tables, and I'm going to try them out right now. Let's see how this works. Okay, so I went ahead and I tested the QR codes, starting with this one that we just took a brief look at. And this graphic is supposed to be a Bible. It's a little hard to read, so maybe I replace it.
But when I scanned the QR code, the link for AR Studios loaded. And after selecting it, AR Studios loaded. I selected Start AR. It took a few moments. Once it loaded, I was again on a camera within the AR Studio, and a prompt was there telling me to scan the QR code. Once I did so, this is what loaded. Now that I look at it, I think I do need to make some small changes. I'll go back into AR Studios and I will play around with the sizes a little bit. I might even enlarge the QR codes. With this brownish orange wood background, the red really doesn't pop very well. So maybe I'll change that text color to something in the green to blue spectrum, basically looking for something that pops a little bit more. But if we go ahead, I scanned everything. Everything did work. So for example, here's the ship. Here's the cabin. Here is an image of the feast. And here's an image of a little church. This should give you a general view on how to set up something similar to this without too much difficulty. So I'll stop there. In the future, I'll probably do variations on this idea, but I will probably take a different approach. So stay tuned for that if you found this interesting, and feel free to give me any feedback or thoughts on projects like this, and if you'd like to see more of this type of content. And as always, if this was useful, like, share, subscribe. I will probably put a variation of this project on my Patreon at some point in the near future, so you can look for it there as well. And if you're watching this at this time of year, happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays, happy whatever you're celebrating, and gobble gobble.